Hello. Hello and welcome to another review from MBE. I am joined, as always, with John C. Walsh here, and tonight, whenever it may be, you're tuning in, folks, we are going to be doing something a little different. We normally do movie reviews, we normally talk about movie news and movie reactions, but tonight we're doing a first. We're doing a TV series review. We're going to do this in 2 episodes per Friday night. We know that the first season of this is 10 episodes, so this is going to be over the next 5 weeks. And this is based on, John, a reaction we did a couple of weeks ago, which just went absolutely mental. We didn't know too much about this. Someone recommended in the comments we should react to Scam 1992, the Harshad Mehta story. We didn't know anything about this, naturally, coming from Scotland. And we watched it, very intrigued by what we saw. But as we said, you know, the just snowballed, the views, the comments as well was fantastic. Just like to thank everyone who partook in that particular video. And normally when that happens, it does intrigue you. Why is this getting so much response? Why is this getting so much attention? And then you look into it further, and we managed to track down this series, John. Very hard thing to track down. We know it's on Sony Live or Sony Live.
This camera's very low, Steve.
So yeah, it is. It certainly is. I'm glad I'm wearing a black t-shirt, John. Without further ado, what I'm going to do first, John, before I hand it over to you to take us through this television review. That sounds weird. I'm going to just read a bit of the synopsis of Wikipedia, just for our Western audience who may not know what this television series is about. So I'll just read this and then I'll hand it over to you, John. It's Scam 1992, the Harshad Mehta story, is a Sony Live Originals Indian Hindi language crime drama web series directed by Harshad Mehta, based on the 1992 Indian stock market scam committed by stockbroker Harshad Mehta. The series is adapted from journalists Chahta Dalal and pardon my pronunciation here, Debashish Basu's 1993 book, The Scam, Who Won, Who Lost, Who Got Away, starring Pratik Gandhi, who is the main man who plays Harshad Mehta, who we'll talk about obviously in the review. I like this guy already. And Shira Danawathari, I hope I've said that right, pardon my pronunciation. We've got Hemant Kher and Nikhil Dwivedi. The series premiered on Sony Live on 9th of October 2020, so it's only 6 weeks old, John. And I think that may have had something to do with obviously our views on the reaction. And the series is currently the highest rated Hindi language Indian web series on IMDb, with a rating of 9.5 out of 10 with over 60,000 ratings. Wow,
very impressive indeed, Stephen. I can understand why it's got such a high rating, because it's a really intriguing show. Obviously, being an outsider, not aware of Harshad Mehta or his scam of the stock exchange, the Bombay Stock Exchange back in 1992. It was going on longer than that, though. It was unveiled, someone whistleblowed, if you'd like, in 92, but he was up to this probably for a long time. We'll see as we go through this how long he's been up to it. He's a very interesting and clean man at this moment. He's doing things underhanded to try. He's a very clean man. But I can understand why it's getting high ratings, because it's a really interesting concept, much like what we've seen with Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio and the Wolf of Wall Street. People are drawn to these mavericks, these divisive figures who commit fraud and stuff like that, who live a certain lifestyle. They're drawn to see what made them commit these acts, see what made them tick and stuff like that. And this certainly does that, Stephen, because very early on the introduction, it establishes the premise beautifully and the fraud. And I was concerned watching this that they would make the assumption that everyone knew about Harshad Mehta, that they knew about the story, John, but they don't make that assumption. The other assumption
obviously would be how the market works as well, which I know nothing about. I don't know about stocks and the stock market. But this is an education as well for us. But I was concerned as well. There was a few things I was concerned about. We've never done a television review before, John. When you're analysing television episodes, which are like condensed films anyway, there's a lot to take in. I know that the first episode was a lot shorter than the second episode. I think it was about 40 minutes long, and the second one was just under an hour.
It's usually the opposite of what we get over here.
For a pilot,
premiere usually is an hour long, and then it sort of drops down. Like we're getting the Mandalorian over here and stuff like that. But you're right, they establish early on the premise, they establish some acronyms and terms for the stock exchange trading and stuff like that, which for a complete novice like me kind of helped, but it's went out of my head completely, so I still don't know about it. I've just about kept track of BSE, Bombay Stock Exchange. There's some terminology though for actual Harshad and stuff like that. He's the such and such of BSE, and I'm not entirely sure what the hell that means. There's a lot of use of the word buy as well, I think, or bay, and perhaps someone watching this can help us out down below. What the hell does bay mean? But look, man, drama mixed with a touch of comedy, I've said. They establish his apparent guilt. It's all framed through a whistleblower coming to this news corporation. He's passed from pillar to post, Stephen. Starts off really well. Yeah. It's sort of a microcosmic look at what this entire TV show seems to be. Drama mixed with comedy and little elements that sort of ease maybe the levity of this. Is that the correct word? I don't know. Add some levity to the situation. What was your thoughts in the introduction, man? Did you like that mixture?
John, I'm assuming it was set in 1992, that opening sort of sequence.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And it's quite authentic looking as well for that period. It was very bustly, that little chap. I don't know the character's name actually. He was a very good actor though, John. He was very agitated, very nervous, paranoid as hell, you know, as we saw when he actually revealed what
how many lakhs was it? It was a huge amount of money that was embezzled.
500, I think it was.
500, that's crazy,
I
man.
might be wrong.
I think it's like 100,000 rupees a lakh.
It was a good opening though. It was a good way to introduce it. That was actually before the titles credits came up, and I'll tell you something, I like the credits as well. The animation is fantastic,
and the music.
Perfect. Excellent.
Stephen, I love this show. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm drawn to it. I'm going to get down the rabbit hole with this show, but we'll try and save it for the reviews and stuff like that. There's other things to watch too. But Stephen, after that, they build the meta backstory. I says Harshad's built beautifully. He goes from a tiny little overcrowded house at the start, and I says he's got an unfettered desire to make money in this. He wants to rise to the top. He's sick of being in this crowded house with his parents, with his brother, with his wife. It's very cramped, and I love that. I love that metaphoric rise. We see that in a whole array of different sort of TV shows and movies. We've seen it done before. But this is a guy you're meant to, I don't know how we're meant to perceive this guy. We're meant to hate him. How we're meant to love him. We've seen it in the trailer. Hero, fraud. So it seems like he's very divisive. My initial thoughts, and we'll get into it later, I quite like this guy. I don't want it to get caught. So what did you make about that? The building going back in time. I think it goes back to 1978.
Yeah.
And it really builds his backstory wonderfully. It establishes how he made his wealth and his success. And I loved that, Stephen, the retro look when it's talking about how he established his wealth and this reputation. It goes to a little crop to ratio, and it's really authentic from the time.
It's funny, John, because the way that the show's formatted it surprised me because it wasn't what I expected when I saw the trailer. I thought it was going to be predominantly in the present, or if you call 1992 the present, 28 years ago, but
I was free.
Yeah, but it's not. You know, the structure of the show's very easy to follow because of the credit, the titles that come up, and it tells you where they are as well. You know, whether it is, you know, obviously logistically, which is it helps us as well to sort of know where we're at. Just establishing these characters. I felt, John, the first episode as well was all about establishing the characters, the main players that are going to, I assume, are going to be throughout the series.
Yeah, Steve,
and I think they did it well.
Kind of spoiled myself. I went on to IMDb. I know the main actors are there for 10 episods, so they certainly do make it through at the very end. Yeah, Stephen, obviously order's a big takeaway. I've said the biggest effing takeaway meal order ever.
Yeah.
And that's just to sort of establish that he's very good at recalling things. He's got good memory, that he can perhaps hack it in this stock exchange.
Better than me, John. I couldn't keep up with that order.
I think he says to his father or something, look, I'm going to the stock exchange. I've got family members or people we know who have made a success. Father's really in denial, doesn't want him to do it. And he's trying to talk him out of it. He goes and he speaks to this guy. I think he's a broker. He seems to have known him before. He doesn't really want to deal with him either. He gets him to phone a takeaway. It's very long, you're right. I couldn't remember it either. But he does. He forgets one thing, but that's enough to earn him a start at the Bombay Stock Exchange. That says it really does show his ability to withhold information. He's got a natural charisma.
Yeah, cancel the order now.
Cancel the order now. He just does it abruptly and then puts the phone down. He's embarrassed. And I loved the beginning of his journey into the stock exchange. He's just overwhelmed at first. He's a market jobber.
Yeah.
And I liked the little guy who took him around. I loved that he brought him back. Chirag Vora played him. It's the Busan Bat, little balded headed guy.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I liked him.
He's brilliant. He's a good little character. He showed him the ropes around this stock exchange, and then he was really flung in at the deep end, and he was overloaded. It was a sensory overload. And Stephen, I loved the way they established that to the viewer too. Someone who isn't aware of how stock exchanges work, when you're seeing all these bodies coming in and it's rampant, there's shouting and it's bustling. I had a sensory overload too. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I could not do this job.
Yeah.
And he has a mare of a first day in this stock exchange. What did you make about that scene? You says it yourself. It was almost like slow motion.
It was almost like an outer body experience for the character. I felt anyway. It was bizarre. I think just overwhelmed with obviously all the attention that's on him. You know, there's people in his face. You know, so close proximity. It kind of gives you an idea of the environment of, you know, the stock exchange and the stock market and everyone that plays in it, you know, and how frantic it can get. As I said, you know, John, I'm only learning that sort of side of things. It's very difficult to understand the ins and outs of how stocks and shares work.
Not got a clue.
I've not got a clue. It's a talent, John, and that's one thing.
That's why there's big money. Steve.
Yeah, that's you know, and we're seeing little glimpses of the character Harshad Mehta, how forward thinking he is and analytical he is. And I think he mentions that. I think it's episode 2. He talks about the analytical side of you know, shares. You know, and I noticed that anyway about the character. So it's very well written. I think they've written these characters very well to really understand just how clever this man is very early on.
And Stephen, obviously dialogue as well. I love the dialogue.
Yeah.
In this movie, it's very natural. Some of the back and forth between the characters is really, really good. I've got some quotes down here that I loved. After his horrid first day, the guy goes on about not taking risks with him. He says, not taking a risk is the biggest risk in the market. That's the one thing the market has taught me in a day. He's talking about opening trader accounts up, going from life in the slow train to the Gujarat, I think I'm saying that correct, Express. There's just so much great dialogue in here. It's really well written, this TV show, and it flows really organically. That's why you're drawn to it, and that's why it flows by. I looked at the time, 35 minutes had passed like that. So quick. And that's the signs of a really good TV show. And Stephen, another way that they're doing this, letting it flow beautifully, it's not really slowing down the pace, it's time jumps. There's lots of time jumps in this. We go forward years. I think he's got a young boy at one point in the second episode, and I'm like, where did he come from? Yeah. So there's lots of jumps in time, and you see maybe it's not his boy, it may be a nephew or something, because it's not that much of a jump, and he's very old. Or maybe he had the boy and he was out the way. I don't know. I
assumed it was his son, but maybe not.
But you're seeing the years going by. It's 78 then. I think by episode 2 we're up to 1984. So there's a 7-year jump, 6-year jump. Stephen, I like the time jump sequence because it shows you him in his first day. He's a fish out of water. Hasn't got a clue what's going on.
Yeah.
Now he's a market maestro. He's in and about these rings. And he's supremely confident. He's commanding the attention of people. He's trading off stocks and giving out prices. And he's able to recall and give information out left, right and centre. I love that scene. And obviously it shows you again, as you did say, he's got a desire to succeed, he's got an attention to detail, he's gaming the system, he's getting inside information from companies, he's a step ahead of the other people around the building. This is a jobber. This guy ain't like a broker yet, he's just a little man on the floor, and he's thinking ahead. Let's go to union protests and go in and try and twist their arm, give information from the inside of these companies so I can project how the stocks are going to do. I love that. I love the attention to detail that's put into this TV show from this guy's mindset, his perspective, if you like, how he ticks. And that's what it says at the start. That's why people are interested in this story, because they want to see what made this guy tick, this divisive figure. I think he's a maverick. I love him. So, but what was your thoughts on the time jump, the whole fish out of water to a maestro, if you like?
It's believable enough, John. I think the fact you've got I think you've got time. It's sunny, yes, it is. But listen, you're here watching us, so that's all that matters. Thanks very much for the comment.
I'm up at 4 a.m. I shouldn't be, but I'm
ideally, obviously, we would like to work with time zones and stuff like that, but it'd be very early in the morning here for us to do that, and I don't think we would be as on the ball as we are, like we always are here at MB. But, the time jumps we weren't jarring or anything like that, John. It was a good way to explain his knowledge. I think he's a very quick learner anyway. But possibly not that quick, but it didn't bother me that much, to be honest with you. I felt that it was really just moving the story along at a good pace, and I think you don't really need to see the ins and outs of how it becomes, obviously, where he is at this stage, and his abilities. But it was natural enough. It didn't really, apart from the boy, that kind of jumped out at me. Yeah, but apart from that,
he's been getting busy.
It was fine. The pacing of this, we talked about the pacing anyway, John, but it's good for a television show.
Anyway, Stephen, the structure of this episode too, that was just leading me right into pacing. I love the pacing, as I did say. The structure, present day interview, flashback, it's almost like KGF, I think, had the same concept.
Yeah.
Guy tells a story of what happened in the past. In that case, it was an unreliable narrator, because we were getting fantastical elements dripping in it. It didn't happen. Also, it's not a real life story, I know that. It's a more reliable narrator. I think it's the little guy that's whistleblowing. He's telling them exactly what's went down here. And you're getting that structure. I like that structure when you're telling sort of the story of this guy, where he came from. I thought it was really slickly edited, I've said, and it really, really enjoyable watch. I keep saying it, a nice blend of drama, and there's intriguing meta too, and then there's humour in parts too, just put in for levity. And they're greatly implemented, because the characters are just, as I says, they bounce off of each other so well. And none more so than with this, what's his name? I'm going to try and find his name, this character. Pranav Chef, the little fat guy who is quite aloof at the start.
Yeah.
He nearly knocks him down on his first day.
Yeah.
And then he's walking away. He doesn't want to know them.
No, he works alone. You can tell
though.
he's just a lone, kind of guy. He's a maverick. He doesn't really want to share information with anyone else, which I think it's probably a smart thing to do in that sort of environment anyway.
He doesn't give information away for free.
Definitely not. Stephen, and he only deals with the sort of highfalutin clients as well.
Yeah, he doesn't work in the penny markets or something. Yeah. He works in the upper markets, the bull market, I don't know. Clearly I'm not a stock trader, guys, but Stephen obviously quits his job, and this opens up a trading account with his brother. I've said question mark. I'm pretty sure it is his brother. Character's name is, I'll try and find it, Ashwin Mehta. I'm pretty sure that's his brother. And this gives us one of the best scenes in the first episode for me. The restaurant celebration. The old father is just not having it. He's like, why are we celebrating you quitting your job? I don't understand.
John, you talk about humour. It's so funny.
It's brilliant. This old guy's great. And we'll get into that in performances. I thought he was a standout in this episode. Outside of Pratik Gandhi, I thought he was great. And just the way he's speaking to the waiter, does it give you wisdom and this and that? Nope. Why are we here then? And then he starts ordering. Harshad starts ordering. And he's like, yeah, throw in one of these for me. I think I can't recall what it was he ordered. Maybe you don't.
I can't remember, John, but it was just the way he did it. It was the way he handled it as well. I know we'll talk about obviously the dad in episode 2, which I was a bit infuriated about, because I like him. I like this guy. I like his sort of screen presence as well. I don't know the actor or anything like that, but
the old father, I'll try and find him.
I've got a funny feeling he's an established actor, just with his performance.
Meta.
And just having that relationship with his son was very interesting in the first episode, John, because I felt that this guy was going to be sort of bogged down in traditions, and his own sort of livelihood didn't succeed, and you can naturally understand.
He was a textile guy, wasn't he?
You can naturally understand he's very cautious about how his sons are going to perform in their careers as well, and not taking risks or anything like that. He doesn't want them repeating his mistakes, so you can understand that. The humour is in there, and I think that was the best way to handle that, John. They could have went the other way and made it very dramatical and serious. I'm glad they didn't. I felt the way they handled it was fine, and it gave us an insight to the sort of relationship the father had with the sons as well.
Well, Stephen, I think they move out. I'm not sure if they've moved out at that point, but they move out. He's got a good paying job. And the old father's like, I don't want to go back to that cramped house. What are you doing? You're just secured here. Don't quit your job. It was Shantilal Mehta, and it was played by Ramakant Dema. I thought he was great, that old guy. I really enjoyed him in the first episode, and also we'll speak about the second episode shortly.
Yeah.
That was a sad scene, man. Even this early on, that's a sign that they're doing something right. When you're bonded with a character you've only seen for 45, 50 minutes, that you're actually sad for these demise, if you like. But Stephen, performances, man, who do you think was a standout performer? I think Pratik Gandhi's really good. Well, he's not even got a photograph on IMDb. He's second billing in this TV show behind Shreya Danawanthari.
Yeah.
I think that's her name.
Yeah.
Also, that's the journalist who's been relayed the information.
Chahta Dalal,
yeah.
For me, John, it's Pratik Gandhi. I think there's just something about. When I saw the trailer for this, I thought, I don't like this. Look at this guy. He looks alright, smug, swindler. And he is actually a smug swindler in this show. There's something likeable, he's a rogue, but it's just this way of thinking, it's his logical sense that I want to see unfold as every episode. John, I talked about this, about television series and how I like to binge watch complete seasons, and I wanted to do this with this, but it wouldn't bode well, obviously, try to remember all this and doing it week about.
Steve, I can't even remember actors' names day.
Yeah, so for me, it's Pratik Gandhi. I think so far anyway. But the little guy, the little bald-headed guy, John, that's terrible. That's Carol Pilkington I'm talking about.
Chirag Vora.
Yeah, I like. There's something about him I liked. Very honest. You can tell the character's a very hard-working sort of man. A very family orientated sort of person. That was the other thing that established as well, John. I know we'll get into that later on about Harshad Mehta's family man thinking as well, which I thought was very honourable.
Stephen, he is, and that's what I was going to say. He is a bit of a rogue, but even the second episode, there's a great quote at the end: "The poor can get some respite, the rich mother effers won't sleep tonight." That's why I think he's divisive. He's done some shenanigans.
It took me a little while to work out that subtitle because it was blocked out. The mother F's, and I was like, what is it they're saying there? And then I went, oh wait a minute,
there's a lot of mother F's in
counted
here,
all
man.
the asterisks, and I went, all right, that's what it means.
That's it. Manu, the old guy at the second episode, he's a bit of a shithead. He likes to dish out the mother F's left, right and centre. That's one thing about this, lots of swearing in this, which is good for me. I like to swear a lot. I can't do it on here, but I swear every 3 words in real life. Stephen, I agree. I think Pratik Gandhi's a standout. He was just great. He's charismatic. He's got that way about him, the way he smiles. It's quite... You kind of start smiling with him, so he's perfect for this role. That's the sort of divisive maverick guy. You don't know whether you love him or hate him. Stephen, though, I mean, also the old guy as well, the father, he was brilliant too, as I says. But also, he's playing the penny market. We'll get back into the actual story before we round this up this episode. He's playing the penny market with the big fat obnoxious guy, I says. Big fat obnoxious guy who I was talking about. I completely forgot his name. I'll try and find him. Pranav Chef, and it's J. Upaji. I can't say the name. There's too many Y's in there. He's obnoxious initially, if I can speak, but he starts becoming more likeable afterwards. He's aloof, as he says. He's a lone wolf. He doesn't want to play with him, but they start playing the penny market, and it works out. And again, you see his hidden talent for spotting money-making opportunities. He's just ahead of the curve, this guy. He's succeeding against the odds. He's buying himself a ticket to the big time, I've says. What did you make about that scene? Him going to him in the toilets, looking down and smiling.
It's a funny scene, John. There's little subtle bits of humour in this episode. If you blink, you miss them. But I did notice that one. I thought it was very funny. I thought it was very awkwardly funny. But the last towel in the bathroom as well. I laughed at that because obviously, Harshad had the last sort of wipe, to dry his hands with, which I thought it's little subtle bits of humour I love. It was a good scene, John. And
I can't smell anything.
No,
puts the
cologne on.
He's talking about money.
It is, John, and it's just the start of this relationship as well. When we first met this character at the very beginning, I wasn't sure if he was going to be in it any more than that first sort of scene. I thought it was just a sort of representation of that kind of broker, in that environment. And we probably wouldn't see him again, or maybe not as much, but it looks like I'm surmising that he's going to be appearing in this quite a bit.
Yeah, I think Stephen. I think he's going to be the sort of yin to the yang of the two brothers. He's a great character. I says he was obnoxious. I kind of hated him at the start, but I'm coming round to him 2 episodes in, so maybe he's not so obnoxious. Stephen, also at the end of this episode, it really ends with him buying a nice new car. He's gone up in the world. He thinks everything's great, and then the market crashes.
Yep.
And he finds himself in a bit of a dilemma. Everyone's crying, and there was a weird effect visually.
Yeah, it was like a kind of a...
It was like blur.
It was like a ripple, It
was like you're right. So it's almost like time slowing down. That's maybe...
It's affecting them all. I think that's
brilliant.
What it is. It's a representation.
That's really good.
Visual representation.
Because it was blurred down below and focus up top, and they're all crying. It was a great scene, but a terrible moment for everyone involved. What did you make about that ending to this episode? It was a nice little minor cliffhanger, I've said.
It was unexpected. With television series, I always expect a cliffhanger anyway, unless they're sort of bookended episodes that the X-Files was quite famous for doing, like contained in the one episode. Clearly, you can't do that with this kind of story. It's a continuation. So you expect the cliffhanger, but I didn't expect the market to crash. I thought this was going to be the rise we were seeing of Harshad Mehta.
Story about this guy who...
It kind of went up a little bit and then crashing down again in the first episode, and I thought, okay. But one thing it did do, John, was it made me watch the second episode right away because I really wanted to see what happened, and I wanted to see how it picked up from that last episode.
Well, Stephen, I can't say that I'd done that because it was very late when I started watching this, and I was incredibly tired last night. If you've watched that show from last night, you'll know what I'm talking about, but you probably won't have. But I liked that, and it really did. It showed you how... It made you think, how will this guy rebound getting into this second episode? It was a great end to a really, really good start to this TV show. Final thoughts on the first episode, though, Stephen. Overall, early impressions on the vibe of the show, I have said. I really enjoyed it. Thought it was a great start. Yeah. Introduces this really charismatic, likeable guy. He's a wrongin, clearly, because he's committed huge fraud, but he's likeable as well. He's a maverick. Yeah. Introduces the main players, the concept of the story really well. It flowed beautifully. It was well structured. The dialogue was great. There was little sprinkles of humour in there, drama. Early impressions, I really enjoyed it. I liked the vibe of the first episode, and it really does have me want to watch more and more and more. Yeah. So, what was your thoughts?
I think establishing the characters very early on, John, it's good writing, and that's what kind of grips me into watching a good television series, is the writers and how they write these characters believable in a believable fashion. So I'm looking forward to just going through this journey. I know it's only 10 episodes, John, but I wasn't wary going into this. I was actually looking forward to it, just judging on the comment section of that reaction, and the encouragement from the community to say, you need to watch this, guys. It really got me going. I was really looking forward to it, and it didn't disappoint. No,
it didn't, Steve, but look, that's going to round up this review of episode 1. Yeah. What was your thoughts on this TV show? Have you binged watched it? Have you watched the first episode? Maybe multiple episodes? What was your thoughts on it? What was your thoughts on performances? General vibe of the story or review? Anything at all? You can share below in the comment section what your thoughts are. I'm hitting this mic a god-awful amount of times. You can also like the video, guys, if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more reviews like this. We'll be back after a short break for another review of episode 2 of Scam 1992, the Harshad Mehta story. I nearly said Mehmet, I don't know why. But look, guys, that's going to round it up. I'm going to try and bring up this, there you go, end screen title. Until the next 10 minutes or something, bye-bye.